Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9.
Well, good Wednesday morning to you. The sun continues to shine, though a little cooler than it was to start the week as we welcome in Spencer Hughes. Good morning, Spence.
Hey, good morning. What's going on? I actually had a little mist on the windshield this morning. It was very bizarre.
That is a bizarre one here. It looks pretty cloudy, but I think another beautiful day in the South Sound. You know, you get past some of these 90-degree days, and mid to upper 70s is just about perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's right where it should be. I think mid-70s today, so that'll be beautiful.
Well, today on the show, local news and conversation, a COVID update, some news on high school football from the WIAA, and it's been a successful shrimping season that is ending early.
We'll also talk with Taylor and Wendy Smith from the Port of Shelton and Karin and Jennifer from the EDC, talk about giving out grant money.
Mason County Public Health was notified of 5 additional Mason County residents that tested positive for COVID-19, bringing the total to 92 positive cases in the county and 10 since Monday. Mason County Public Health is continuing contact interviews. The patients, a male in their 40s and then females ranging from birth to their 40s, are currently isolating at home.
Health officials are reporting 838 additional COVID-19 cases. 12 more deaths in Washington. The State Department of Health said yesterday evening that the latest numbers bring the state up to 48,575 cases and at least 1,465 deaths. Officials say since the pandemic began, 841,184 tests for the coronavirus have been done in the state, with about 5.8% of those coming back positive. Over the past week, about 5.5% of tests in Washington have been positive. The World Health Organization recommends the rate be 5% or less.
Well, the governing body of high school sports in the state has decided to move the football season to spring of 2021 because of the pandemic. The Seattle Times reports the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association yesterday announcing the delay of the season. The football season would now run from early March into May. Executive Director Mick Hoffman says the group is trying to be creative to allow students the chance to compete.
Recreational shrimpers have enjoyed 5 days of highly successful shrimping on Hood Canal this season. As a result, WDFW won't reopen the final day for spot shrimp fishing in Hood Canal, previously scheduled for July 28th.
Oh, man.
Man, I want to do that one of these days. It looks like it's fun. Maybe something I could actually do. This action is required to remain within catch limits and to preserve population numbers for future fishing opportunities, said Caitlin Bosley, WDFW Puget Sound crustacean biologist. Shrimpers were very successful this year in Hood Canal, harvesting the quota in just 5 days of fishing, said Bosley. The number of harvesters catching full limits in Hood Canal increased from 43% in 2019 to 68% this year.
Wow.
That's a big increase. The great harvests in this area were largely mirrored across the Sound, added Bosley. Though spot shrimp season is coming to a close in most areas on Puget Sound, residents can still enjoy time on Puget Sound going after side stripe, coon stripe, dock, and pink shrimp.
Yum. Yum.
Sounds delicious.
I don't care the name. Just put some butter on it. I tell you what. Well, again, on the show today, local news and conversation, good chats with Taylor and Wendy Smith from the Port of Shelton, also Karin and Jennifer from the EDC. Talk about giving grant money out to folks that have applied for that over the last couple of months. It's all here on the Daybreak Show. Good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show on AM 1030 and FM 103.3 via Zoom video conference. I'm happy to talk with the great folks of the Economic Development Council of Mason County. Jennifer, Karin, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
We're doing well. We're continuing on. And I understand that you guys have been able to, in the last couple of days recently, been out to get out into the community and hand out some checks for folks who had filled out some of those grant applications. Tell me about where this money is coming from. And, there's privacy concerns about the recipients, and that's great. But, a lot of folks out there may be getting a little bit of assistance.
It's been the culmination of all of the paperwork we've gone through, all the processes of working with Commerce. So this is the good part, or the part that makes us realize that all of that hard work does pay off.
Yeah.
This is funds that this was the original funds back in April from Department of Commerce that the governor allocated from the Strategic Reserve Fund. So it had specific things that had to happen around it, which is why it took so long to get the funding out to it. But we were allocated grants up to $10,000 for 17 of our businesses. So being able to get all of their paperwork in, all of their expense tracking, because it's state funding. You have to have the paperwork to match it up. So being able to cut those checks, seeing those come into the account, being able to cut the checks, being able to take them, and just the people's emotional response to finally being able to have that support.
Well, as I think about this, and you're talking April, and now we're almost in August, that's a long time for business owners or recipients to be kind of on the bubble, waiting and trying to figure out what's going on. I'm sure there was a lot of calls between you and the businesses who applied about, well, did I get denied? What's happening? Is it just a longer process? We're struggling in the middle of all this. But it's got to be pretty cool when you finally give them that phone call, say you're coming by.
Yeah, it's made all of that hard work, like Jennifer said, all the blood, sweat, and tears is it's all worth it, to hand them a check and their eyes well up. They want to give you a hug, and it's like, no, please don't.
Yeah. COVID.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
They're just so overwhelmed and thankful that, they're, even if it just paid their rents for 2 or 3 months, that meant the world to them to be able to get that off their shoulder and get a little out of the red. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And obviously it's their money and they can kind of do with it as they see fit to help their business. But do you get a sense that it's a lot of rent payments that they're trying to make, or is this the payroll one, or where does the money go to? So the payroll protection money has already started going out, but that's going through your banks. So I don't know that we're going to get much information on that other than that money is already going into the businesses. For this one specifically, it wasn't payroll, it was everything else. But this was a reimbursement fund. So they had to have already spent that money to be able to, and it had to be up to that $10,000 to be able to qualify for it. You had to be able to, or to show your expenses of that amount. So this isn't funding for future bills. This is stuff that has already come out of their savings, that has already come out of their personal accounts to support their businesses. So my guess is it's either going to go back into the credit card that paid for that, or the savings account that paid for that, or be able to be used with the business saying, all right, well, we already used our savings on that. Let's use this money for additional rent or additional utilities that's coming forward. But they had to have already spent that money to be able to get it. Wow. Yeah. And I bet that was a nerve-wracking few months then. It really is, and it's tough because. Go ahead, Karin. Sorry. Oh no, nothing. I was just saying a lot of uncertainty and stress for them. The process took longer than we had anticipated, and longer than Commerce themselves had really anticipated. So, it was just a lot of phone calls assuring them, yes, you were approved. Yes, we're working on it. As soon as we get that money, we're going to get it to you. And as soon as this is over, I'm going to be running up to the Belfair. I've got a couple businesses that are, probably sitting by their front door right now, waiting for me to get there. Where is she? Yeah, the credit cards are maxed out. They said 2:00. What the heck, man? We're waiting for her. Yeah. So this was the April money. What else is coming through the pipeline to help residents of Mason County? And is there a shorter timeline on the payout on these next ones? The nice part is that everything is shorter now that long period happened, where all of the places that have money have
been able to put those systems into place. So now it's not a matter of we have to recreate or we have to create a whole application, a whole distribution. That's already there. So we have, we've just finished and awarded our micro enterprise grants. Those were for the low to moderate income businesses that have less than 5 employees. Those will start going out as we get their financial documents in. Again, you still have to, it's a reimbursable grant or a reimbursable grant. So you have to have spent that money in order to get it. So that requires documentation. So that's next step for that. But the county is releasing funds from the CARES Act dollars that they gave to support businesses. They're approving it at their next public meeting. I believe at the beginning of August. That process, it's just a matter of making sure that those applications get in, meet the criteria, and we'll be able to move that forward faster. Commerce has identified an additional $20 million, not from strategic reserve, so it's not going to have quite the strings that are attached to it, but it will be able to move faster. So you're seeing all of these things come online that the last few months they've been taking to put into play. So those should move pretty fast, and you should see that funding go back into the community a lot quicker.
What do you get a sense of how the business economy is doing in Mason County? Talking with a lot of these folks over the last couple of months, we were hit very hard, obviously, in early March, and then as the lockdowns progressed, and now we're kind of hemorrhaging between a phase 2, a phase 3, and a modified phase 3 in there somewhere. What's it like out there on Main Street for these businesses?
I think it's going to be a struggle for a while, and I think the thing that we can do the most as our community members, as business supporters, as business owners, is make sure that we are doing everything that we can to not have to go back a phase. So masks are horrible. They suck. They're hot. They're awful, but they are a number one deterrent that we can control, that will help our businesses be successful. Don't complain about having to wear them in the store. The business owners are doing what they can to make sure that your experience is as pleasant and as uninfecting, that's a word, as possible. So support them by doing what you can. You might not be sick, you might not be around anybody that's sick, but you're doing what you can to prevent anything from happening in a situation that you can control. If it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen outside of your control, but to help those businesses be able to stay in business, complaining to them won't help. They have to adhere to their own set of regulations, and if they don't, they could potentially be fined an even greater amount if they're not advocating for that or working with those safety precautions. Next step for that would be a business license removal. We don't want our businesses to be in a position where they have to make that. I mean, how uncomfortable is it to even say to somebody, to come in here, you have to have your mask on, but to have somebody come back at them and say, no, there has to be a give and take, and there has to be, right now, I'd say it's kind of an empathetic movement. We need to be able to realize that, do I think I'm going to infect somebody? No. Do I think somebody is going to infect me? I need to be able to take those necessary precautions that those businesses need to take in order to operate. So
I was out this morning and there's a lot of fear. People are already seeing things slow down, a couple specific businesses, and it's the fear of us going back to a phase 2 or a more modified version of phase 3. And like Jennifer said, the simplest thing that you can do to help support these businesses is put your mask on. How long do you have to wear it? 2 minutes to walk to your table, to sit down, and then be able to remove your mask. That's the best thing that you can do, not only for yourself and the people around you, but for our local businesses. those staff people that are greeting you, they're doing their job under the direction of their owner, their business owner, or management. And it's really, to me, it's a small thing to ask of folks, is to just wear a mask.
I saw Tom Hanks on TV the other day. He and his wife, Rita Wilson, contracted it down in Australia or something like that. And he was talking about it in terms of World War II and the efforts done there. And it was interesting with him talking about it. And then I heard some other folks saying, listen, during the war, we had folks in New York and in London, they shut off all their lights. They said, you got to turn your lights off because the planes are flying overhead. They can see the lights and you know what's going to happen. And,
right.
and you didn't have one person in the apartment building saying, you can't see my light, or I need to read or something. No, everybody was able to understand that a light on possibly meant a bomb dropping. That was a real thing. And well, we start to see the president wearing some masks and some pictures and things, and the vice president's been doing a pretty good job. So maybe that will help other parts of the population out there. We were at a store the other day, maybe 10 minutes, and it was starting to get uncomfortable. So we zipped through. But the folks that are working there, that 8-hour day, they're the ones that are being breathed on by hundreds of people, not just one interaction.
It's just a small ask. You see people with disabilities, loss of limbs, they're visually impaired, and they're making it work every single day. You can wear a mask for 10, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. It's just a small thing. And again, it's just to support our small businesses and the people around you.
Yeah.
Well, and my limited knowledge of biology, I can't make a vaccine. I can't offer much to that process. So I need to be able to look at what I can control within my sphere. And that is me and maybe my dog Cooper. So looking at what it is that we can do to help those businesses operate without that fear, and how, if we can get ourselves to a place where we can interact more normally, even with a mask, even socially distanced, that fear in us will start to lessen its grip that we have. We're still doing what we can to be safe. We're still supporting our businesses. We're still buying things. We're still out in the community experiencing the beautiful nature that we have, but we're doing it in a safe and as effective as we can manage way.
ChooseMason.com, the website for information on all of the grants, COVID information, the Business Builder course, it's all there, and detailed information on Mason County in general. If you're watching one of these interviews from outside of the county and you're looking to start business, Mason County is a great place to do it. ChooseMason.com. Karin, Jennifer, good to see you. Be safe.
Good to see you.
And we'll catch
Thanks
up again soon.
Us.
Of course.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.
You're listening to Daybreak on I-Fiber-One News Radio.
It's time for Port of Call on Daybreak. Good morning to you, Spencer Hughes and Jeff Slakey. We are joined by Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith from the Port of Shelton. Good morning to you. We're going to talk with you first, Dick. Good to see you.
Good morning. I don't see Jeff. It's always great to be here.
Well, tell us about some leases. You have some good
news there? Well, we got some new leases coming up. What, 4 or 5 coming up? I can't think. But, business is still rolling. The point is business is still rolling at the port, and our tenants are surviving, doing well. So we're happy for that. The biggest thing that's coming up for us, for the commission, is tomorrow we have our annual commissioners conference for the WPPA, the Washington Public Ports Association. And normally we go somewhere for that. And this year it was going to be held in Yakima. I think it was Yakima, somewhere in Eastern
That's where they have a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hotbed over there.
Yeah, we're not going over there. And the thing is going to be a Zoom-style conference that we're going to go to. And
those seem to be working well for a lot of people in a lot of organizations.
Yeah, they do.
It's not the same. It can't replace.
It
can't replace face-to-face.
It's just not the same being in personal contact with somebody while you're talking to them. Because we've been doing our meetings by Zoom.
Yeah.
And, by the way, I think Wednesday, our meeting will be canceled tomorrow because of the Commissioners Conference. And on Wednesday, our commission meeting will take place in person.
Oh, wow.
So unless the governor changes something in the meantime.
Just social distancing and
yeah, it'll be social
probably
distancing
and all that stuff.
And I think we're limited to a audience of what, 10?
Yeah, it's down from 50 to 10, I believe.
Yeah, to 10.
So yeah, it's a big decrease again. We're kind of taking some steps backwards.
But we're going to be opening it up. So.
That's great. And with Zoom, the fun thing is you could do like the Brady Bunch where you guys can look at each other and stuff. Do you do that? The squares? No? How many people are in on those meetings, by the way?
Well, it's the three commissioners and Wendy and the attorney generally, Skip Hauser, and our Jan Fancher, our auditor. So 6 people, 7. And I don't think we've ever had a guest on the Zoom. But they're, it's available.
Sure,
People can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've been, we were talking a little bit off air about the comet, and my wife and I have been trying to see it, and we're in Grapeview, not too far from here, but it's a lot of tree line, so we've kind of driven out a ways. We have our app out, supposedly telling us where it is in the sky, and we just haven't been able to see it. But you have a tip for us and where you've been seeing it.
Yeah, we've seen it out at the air. You go out to Sanderson Field, and if you go to the end of the decommissioned runway where they held Oyster Fest and the other events, right there. If you park right in there, that big field right there, if you look up and you see the Big Dipper,
yep,
you see the bottom portion of the Big Dipper, down to the right, close to the horizon, you'll see the comet.
And it's clear. I mean, you can when it's clear. You can see the little tail.
Yeah, and bring your binoculars or your telescope or whatever. But yeah, you can do that. And last night there were 5 or 6 couples or groups of people that I saw out there. It's dark, so you can't really see everything.
Yeah.
And it's my wife looks on an app and it says it's supposed to be 2 hours after sunset or something, but you want to wait till it's really dark.
Yeah, we tried it with a little too much light in the sky too, which I think was part of the problem.
So about 11 o'clock you can really see it.
Wow.
At least, and then it's only going to be around for another couple of days.
I think so. Yeah.
So by Wednesday or by today, Wednesday.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk with Wendy about the runway project over at Sanderson Field. How are things looking with that?
Good. So as you know, we started the project late last year, more to do with weather than the virus, but we were able to do all off pavement, electrical trenching, that kind of thing. So we've just been waiting for weather. Then the virus hit. We're just now getting the weather window we need. So we are getting ramped up, I believe, starting the 27th, so a week from today, the LARC survey will happen. So the crew will come out that we've hired and contracted with to do our LARC survey. They look for that endangered LARC. I guess they're not endangered, they're listed species.
Right.
And they look for nests. It's getting towards their end of season, so they shouldn't see many, and that's what we hope for. But where they see them, they'll provide a buffer. And we'll have to work within the buffer area, or work outside of the buffer area. Again, shouldn't impact because our now project going forward is all just the repaving, so it's all on surface. But that's getting, started pretty quickly. So the company that's doing the work is going to, as soon as we get clearance after that report goes in, they're going to be able to come out and get, mobilized and get started. So it'll affect the runway. So for all the users, it'll affect it for a little bit, but we'll be able to reopen that taxiway for use during the construction. So
how long of a window is it, or it won't be?
It's supposed to be, I believe, about 3 weeks, possibly 2 of closure, and then the rest is kind of peripheral. But I haven't talked in deep circumstances in terms of, is everything on track? Is everything going? But I think the shutdown itself was going to be about a 2-week process. They're doing everything they can to make it as quick as possible. So they'll work extended hours, they'll work weekends. And so it may be a lot less. And of course, if you're a pilot, you're listening to this, make sure you're checking the NOTAMs. And so they know, which is, they all know to do that anyway, but that'll indicate, whether the runway's open or not. So rather than having to see it, you're trying to land. So, but things are good at the port. I think, we are we are, excited to see some really, probably the greatest news is some of our leases that we're just recently reapproving. One in particular, I'd like to call out as a cannabis lease. And as you know, I think from our conversations last year, we renewed all of our cannabis leases, but one in particular, Laughing Grass, they renewed only for 1 year. They were, concerned with the market and just, can this work? And they're renewing for 5 years now this year.
That's great.
So it's
that's
great news, and we're just really excited to accommodate them and have them on port property. And so I think even though there's so much negative in the world right now, there are some things that are happening and businesses that are making ends meet, and, we're just supporting as we can. And, but things are looking good in that regard. And then we just got approved for some contract modification, I guess, to one of our curb projects out at Johns Prairie. We had pretty much exhausted the projects that were listed on what we defined in our scope, but we still had money left. And so we wanted to reutilize that. So that's out at the Lynch Creek property. So we're really excited. We just got the word last week that we got approved for the excess, not funding, because we already had the funding, but excess scope. That's great. So we'll go forward and get some more projects done out there with that funding. So
it's always good to have money at the end of the
absolutely, but you don't want to give it back. You want to utilize it. So we're excited. So I think things are good.
On a funny note here, my wife texted me the other day. They were out by somewhere near Sanderson Field, and they saw somebody skydiving, and they said, "This guy's coming in real fast." And I go, "It's okay. It's probably one of your tenants."
Yeah.
And the dive team there, right?
Yeah, sometimes you watch that and it's almost frightening because they're coming down so fast. But that's kind of the love of that business. The really advanced jumpers, they know what they're doing, and they like to come really fast.
I told her these guys were in Iron Man. They know what they're doing.
Yes, that's right. That's right, correct.
All right, Dick Taylor, Wendy Smith from the Port of Shelton, Port of Call here on iFiber One News Radio and Daybreak. Good seeing both of you.
You too.
Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.